Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. All right, everyone. Hi, how are you today? Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. I hope you're healthy and secure. Lots of emails, lots of comments. Really glad to see that. It's great to hear from all you guys. We're just going to go ahead and start another Gosho today, another translation. This again from the dissertation of Jaqueline Stone. And, the lighting. Yeah, it's a little harsh today. It's morning in winter. The sun has moved in the sky. And so there's this really harsh light coming in from one side, and I'm trying to defeat it with my key light. But so the shadow will go away as we go on. How I look isn't really that profound for me. The content is everything, right? So this is a Gosho titled A Reply to the Nun, the Widow of Lord Ueno. And we've read this Gosho before, a different translation. And so, always curious to know or to see how various scholars translate the same document. Ueno dono Gokeyama Gohenji. And so it has the standard Taisho reference in here. So, scholarship. Academe. I've received your various offerings, he starts. This is Nichiren, of course. Now I wonder if, since Lord Ueno's death, you have received news of him from the afterworld. It's the first time I've read anything like that. Let's go on and see what he may mean. If so, I would like to hear it, but I do not think that this could be. Oh, good. Back into Buddhism. If not in a dream, you could not possibly behold his form. And if not in a vision, how could he appear to you? Yet surely in the pure land of Ultra Peak, he must be listening to and watching day and night the affairs of the Saha world. You, his wife, and children, having only the fleshly eye, do not see or hear him, but you should believe that eventually you will be reunited. So, this sounds awfully Western, doesn't it? What we do know, and it's kind of in here, we've discussed this before, when our associations in this life, because remember, we're very attached in samsara to everything as other, and we forget quite efficiently that there is no separation between all of us. For the same reason, physically, and I've talked about this, that when karmic formations find a fit in the karmic energies of a combination of an egg and a sperm, they just instantiate there, right? Because you're potential, I'm potential, we're all potential of this process of life. And for us to manifest like a fish in water rather than a fish in orbit or in clouds in the sky, they don't manifest there because they manifest in the environment they're best suited for. It's not a choice, it's part of the process, right? And for the same reason that you have your parents and their parents and their parents all the way back, there's a similarity of karmic energy potentials. They're related. And so that's where you instantiate. For the same reason as you meet the people that you meet in the samsaric world. We're all similar potentials. And so those attract, right? And those that are dissimilar repel, kind of like a magnet. So when someone you spend a great deal of your life with, whether it's a sibling, obviously, but in marriage, in relationships, in loving unions, there's a mixing of that karmic potential. That's why there's difficulties in relationships, because you're not perfectly the same. You have different tendencies and different conditions, and you adopt and you change, and they adopt and they change, and you inculcate aspects of the other into yourself, and as they do the same. And when one of you passes away, the body is extinct, therefore the mind extinct, therefore no more consciousness. There is no more you or them, whichever way you want to look at the equation. Their karmic energies, their formation potentials, still exist within you. It's not a spiritual, magical thing. It's simply the way physics works. It's the way life works. So yeah, you may still experience your loved one because they're part of you after they are physically gone. Not just physically, mentally. They're extinct. But within you, coursing through samsara, through life, you maintain a lot of the tendencies you've inculcated from them in your life. So in a very real way, they continue to influence your life, right? I mean, let's get real basic here. You may know somebody who you have a really good relationship with, or maybe you don't. It doesn't require that much of a relationship. But any relationship, somebody shows you, convinces you to try a food that you never would have likely looked twice at in your life. Maybe it's somebody from a different culture who you've befriended. And they've convinced you, no, you need to try this cheese. You've never tasted anything like it. And you do, and it's amazing. And it makes a deep imprint in your life. Well, you may never see that person again in your life. And whether they're extinct or not, doesn't matter. That influence, that aha moment for you, follows you the rest of your life. It influences the way you look at other foods, other cultures, other cheeses. Right? I mean, it seems silly to say out loud because it's so obvious. But why isn't it just as obvious that we do this with people who pass away? Especially with relatives. My goodness, you're parts of the same karmic streams. Right? It's a complex thing. But there's evidence always remaining in you. Right? We know this. So this is what Nichiren is talking to this woman. She's lost her husband. That's a significant event in her life. And he says, maybe you've had messages from him. He's talked to you, and because he's appealing to the ignorance of the day, right? That there's still a lot of Shinto and Shingon and other forms of Buddhism in the culture. Just because she's a follower of Nichiren doesn't mean she doesn't hear this other stuff, doesn't mean she's not part of that culture. So it's kind of a device, isn't it? Have you heard from him? Have you seen him? And then right away he says, well, that's not possible, right? So he corrects that right away. Oh, yeah. I was starting to get in a dreamland and magically think that he was talking. Oh, right. It's just in my own mind. He's still there, but not in physical reality, right? And eventually you'll be reunited. that again, the same kind of thinking. When you die, you'll be in the same place. Well, yeah, you'll be in the same place. No place. It's the same. No place is the place everybody agrees is the same. You won't be anymore. You won't be being anymore. So yeah, you'll join him. You'll pass away too. So will all of us. Next paragraph. In lifetime after lifetime and world after world, the men to whom you have pledged yourself in marriage must have been more numerous than the sands of the great sea, but he to whom you pledged yourself in this lifetime is your true husband. Man, I don't know if I would say it that way in 2022. A woman would get really angry with me, like I'm calling her a whore, you know. But basically, because you have to understand, lifetime after lifetime is a magical, mystical thing. It's not real. But if you want to speak of it in terms of Buddhism, lifetime after lifetime is moment, 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 right? In my last lifetime, I insulted this woman. I called her a whore. In this lifetime, I'm telling you, I don't mean that she's a whore. This just indicates that she's had other love interests in her life. She just never married them. Excuse me. But marriage, that word, marriage, interesting word to translate this relationship into. Because don't we, when we fantasize about a relationship with somebody, even if we don't have, and you may have several relationships in your lives, aren't they all a form of joining and investigating and dreaming about potentials? Isn't that marriage? Forget the legalities, and we get so obsessed now in our infantile need for everything having a distinct definition. Marriage is commitment, period. Right? Are we not wedded to our Buddhist practice? It's a marriage. So when you're a young person or a teenager and you're investigating your identity, because that's so important in your teens, you investigate, you imagine, dream, test what relationships can be like, what commitment is like. How much must the other bend to your will or you bend to theirs? Is there a medium? Right? Those are all marriages. So very, very true to linguistics. As we exist life to life to life to life, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, moment to moment, we may fantasize with even non-humans. Don't get crazy on me now, but don't feel, what girl or guy didn't fantasize about a certain person with their poster in their room? Some singer or actress or actor or sports figure. Psychologically, they're marriages. We go through them and we learn things and we don't learn things, right? But then there's that big commitment of an actual lifelong commitment or multiple year commitment, right? Their effect on who you are today is very integrated into who you understand yourself to be. So that's what he's talking about here. And then you pledge yourself in this lifetime is your true husband, because you made a lifelong commitment with this specific individual, right? Lasted a lot longer. The reason is that at your husband's urging, you became a practitioner of the Lotus Sutra. So he's shifting now from her commitment to a marriage with a person who then influenced her back, right? Marriage, it's an equal sign. The equation goes both ways. And he influenced her to seek her enlightenment, her awakening, her Buddha wisdom. Something maybe no one before had done, or if they had, they'd done it through other cultural devices. Like I said, other schools, other ways of thinking. And because she adopted Nichiren's doctrine of Lotus Sutra Buddhism, she became not only responsible for her own enlightenment, changed her life path, but she did so at the urging of her husband, a man she implicitly trusts deeply with her life. This is very important, yeah? Therefore, you should look up to him as a Buddha. So this is how you should think about him now. Not just the way he taught you how to tickle your toes or eat certain foods or how to behave in certain ways. No, those are all wonderful, fond memories of experiences you had with a samsaric being, your husband. But on the level of just musing and thinking about him, never forget to understand the greatest amazing influence he had on you was to show you the way to your own enlightenment. And by doing so, he has achieved an enlightenment of his own. This is for her to experience, right? Because this is the human mind, and the human mind needs to be conditioned. This is why we chant, right? So he's being very loving and considerate here. While alive, he was a living Buddha, and now he is a Buddha in death. In both life and death, he is a Buddha. This is the vital doctrine called becoming a Buddha in this very body, quote unquote. Chant 4 of the Lotus Sutra states, if one can hold this sutra, he thereby holds the Buddha's body, right? And we've talked about that in the discussions on the three bodies of Buddha. When we chant and we open directly our experience of Buddha. And that experience of Buddha happens in three ways. First of all, in the manifested body. But this body is manifested when we chant as like the vessel of our enlightenment. And our enlightenment, our Buddha nature, has a methodology to it, a way that we understand, and that's why study is important, that it's always here. It's always been here. It's without beginning. It is part and parcel. It is the energy, and then the energy of formations. It's the energy that forms the entire universe, all life. Understanding that is the Dharma. Understanding that while in this human body is the reward, enlightenment, awakening. Those are the three bodies of Buddha. It's called the three bodies, but, I wish there was another way we could talk about it without the use of the word body, because as soon as you hear body, you think fingers, hands, feet, right? Think of it more as an instantiation, a bit of a container, or we live in a world of screens and monitors, right? From phones to televisions and everything else. So you could think of them as a reflected vision, because here we are in samsara, right? So there's three. The important thing to remember is that this is a way of explaining the inherent nature of Buddha, right? It's not something external to our existence as human beings. It's something we experience in the here and now, in this samsaric body, while making a cause, chanting to our mandalas, attaining this mental enlightenment. See, there's mental, there's physical, and there's identifying. And so if you can take those three ideas and make them all align, then you understand how you attain your Buddha-ness in this form, in this human experience. It's all about integrating all of that. Now, whether in the case of the Pure Land or whether in the case of hell, neither is found outside us. So sometimes he seems to stray a little bit, but you got to remember, this is a personal letter, so he's adopting a rhetoric that she'll understand. Not lessening her ability at all, but familiar terminology, familiar ideas that she can grasp. And then right away he snaps back to understand, right? So he says, whether you or he or however you want to envision his Buddha-ness, whether you understand the Pure Land, in other words, the experience of life through our Buddha perception, or hell if you're feeling terrible, right? None of this is found, it's not coming from outside of you. It's not dropping on you like a bomb. It's not being imposed on you. It's not coming to you. It is you. Neither is found outside of us. It's all occurring in our experience, which is mind. They exist solely within our hearts. Well, heart is a funny word in Asian history. I know in Chinese, the word heart immediately conceives of the mind, and they're usually said together. Even the characters for heart and mind are sometimes interchangeable, but they're very mixed. One awakened to this is called a Buddha. So if you understand that Pure Land, hell, all the realms, all the life conditions, all the 3,000 realms, all of this teaching, it all occurs within us. Nothing is imposed upon us. It's up to us to experience it, awaken to it, and it doesn't come from anywhere else. It's all happening in our minds. And if you understand that fully, then you're coursing in the Buddha way. One deluded to it is called an ordinary worldling. If you still have magical thoughts, if you still think your husband is coming to you in a dream or standing before you talking to you, and you don't understand that that's your mind at work, and that's okay, but just understand it's not being sent to you from any kind of deity or other force, or right? Or if you're feeling super sad and anguish, you don't have to feel that way. You are creating that feeling, right? If you understand that, then it's not about getting rid of the feeling. It's about understanding that you're creating that. You're manifesting that world view. Therefore, you can change it at will, right? I remember this wasn't even about Buddhism. She said, she was a therapist, a physical therapist. And she said she tells people that talk to her and open up to her, she says, it's okay to be sad. But be sad for a day or be sad for an hour. Tell yourself, okay, for the next hour, I'm going to be just sad as hell. And then at the end of set an alarm. At the end of that time, snap out of it and get back into life. I always thought that was a curious thing, but there's some merit to it. Because it puts you in control. What enables this awakening is the Lotus Sutra. So if you chant Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, your Buddha-ness becomes more involved in your daily activities. And so you catch yourself more easily. You understand what you're doing more easily, right? This is what he's saying. And if this is so, then one who embraces the Lotus Sutra awakens to hell being precisely the land of tranquil light. Because you know it as, you know, a certain plant on the side of the road. It doesn't become your whole reality when you're experiencing some kind of emotional different realm. It's not, remember I said, all the realms are all there all the time in each and every moment. But you may focus on certain realms. But by chanting, you know that that's what you're doing. You're not slipping into some other place. You're simply choosing to focus on lower worlds or middling worlds or, right? Whatever you focus your attention to are the realms that you will tend toward. Tendencies and conditions, remember? Even though one may practice the provisional teachings for incalculable hundreds of thousands of years, right now, hyperbolic, if he departs from the Lotus Sutra, he will always be in hell because you'll lack the understanding to know who's driving. If you really want to drive your life toward fulfillment, then you must chant Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, because it is only in the teachings of the Lotus Sutra that we learn the preeminent method, the model for attaining one's enlightenment now, in the here and now. Immediate, you invoke it. If you're not practicing that way, then all of your efforts fall short. And so they may be helpful. It's like all study is helpful, but you're not taking that last step. And so it's easy to slip into old habits because you're not invoking your maximal potential, your understanding, your insight. Yeah? This is not merely something Nichiren has said. So right away he's saying, you don't have to take my word for it. It's not just me saying that. All Buddhas, including Shakyamuni, Many-Jos, and the emanation Buddhas throughout the 10 directions, have established it. That's also the sermon of the Lotus Sutra. Thus, one who practices the provisional teachings is like someone being burned by fire going into the midst of a fire, or like someone sinking in water moving further toward the bottom of the depths. Those who do not embrace the Lotus Sutra are like someone entering into the midst of fire or water. Those who rely on evil teachers, who are slanderers of the Lotus Sutra, such as Honen and Kobo, and put their faith in the Amida and Mahavajracana Sutras, are like someone in fire entering deeper into the flames, or someone in water further toward the bottom. How can they escape from their agony? There can be no doubt that they will fall into the hell of regeneration, the hell of black ropes, or the fiery pit of the hell without respite, or sink to the bottom of the ice in the hells of the Crimson Lotus or Great Crimson Lotus. These are all cultural folklore, old tales of, it's just like in the West. You have heaven and hell. You have Dante's, incredible different levels of hell. There's a lot of religious imaginariums used to manipulate people. And Asia was not free of this. And people actually used Buddhism to inculcate that kind of, because it gives them power to lord over you. And that's not Buddhism. And yet, people would use the teachings of Buddhism to interpret them in ways that they could manipulate the populace. It's a sad thing, but it happens. It's kind of a human fallacy, isn't it? It's all over the world. But if you practice the Lotus Sutra and you practice it and study, it won't take long before you understand that all this magical stuff, it's just a way of reaching people's imagination, but there's no substance to it. In Buddhism, in real Buddhism, if you follow Shakyamuni's writings, which Nichiren does through the scholarship of scholars before him, all of this magical stuff is just, it's distraction from Buddhism, from Buddha. All right, let's finish this paragraph. Let's see where we're at. Yeah. I don't want to make these videos too long. Without respite or sink to the bottom. Blah, blah, blah. Chuan 2 of the Lotus Sutra says, quote, "These men at life's end shall enter the Avicii hell, where they shall fulfill one kalpa. When the kalpa is ended, they shall be reborn there, in this way, spinning around through kalpas unnumbered." End quote. And again, this is a visualization. So I want to caution you, we're not talking about, reincarnation. That's not Buddhism. Let me give you an analogy that helps you understand this rhetoric. I think it was a math teacher that said this in a classroom I was in. This goes back to high school. Whew, when the dinosaurs roamed. Not quite that old. But he said this. He said, on the nature of time, space-time. I may have even read this somewhere else, but I definitely credit a math teacher for pointing it out. He said, if you have to wait for someone, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, just a friend, to come out in the front yard and meet you, and he says, "I'll be out in a minute," and so you stand out there and you lean on the fence and you wait, and it takes him maybe 3 minutes to get his act together or her act together and come out and meet you, right? And it feels like I'm waiting, it's taking a long time, right? But let's say the exact same scenario, except in order to wait, you have to sit on, remember white picket fences with their the triangle at the top of each fence post? Sit on the top of that fence with a couple of those fence posts right in your butt. Just both cheeks, just being pierced with your entire weight. And now you wait those 3 minutes. How much longer is your experience of 3 minutes on those fence posts? Suddenly, the 3 minutes standing outside seems incredibly brief compared to what you're withstanding in your weight on the peaks of those picket fences, right? Time, it's a strange thing. It's very relative, isn't it? So, when Nichiren talks about, and Shakyamuni talks about, at death, they don't mean the moment of extinction and you go someplace. They mean your experience of dying. If your entire life has been spent thinking and trying to imagine all these major imaginations of magical spaces, other lands, afterlife, how much stress and anxiety will you amass as you get closer to your moment of death? Do you see? The agony, the fear. Buddhism doesn't. They use the rhetoric to indicate to you that if you chant, if you awaken your Buddha, then you're enlightened till that last moment. Because you understand that everything is a flow, constantly changing. And so now you're going to leave the samsaric world of the mind and the obsessions, right? The consciousnesses, and you're just going to dissolve and return to quiescent energy. That's okay. You're living your life to its maximal, even to the point of death. But if you don't understand that, if you don't understand that you are an enlightened being, there is being and there is not being. And the argument would be in the space in between. Because if you're not being your maximal instantiation, manifestation, potential, then are you truly being? Or are you modulating that being with a bunch of other crap that's creating your malaise, your stress, you're not living fully? Makes sense? That's what he's talking about here. And he's trying to convince this woman who's in grief, who's lost her husband, that she can be, it's okay for her to be happy. She can still move through her life with the presence of her husband within her experience, because it's all her experience to begin with. Right? His influence on her experience didn't require his physical presence. It was his influence that she was married to. And that's still there. He's not there physically to reinforce it in samsara. Okay, you can lament that. That's okay. But you haven't lost him. In fact, if you maintain your life as an awakened being, he will always be a part of you until death. And if you don't know that, then your last moments, days, weeks, as you approach death, are going to be incredibly difficult, because you're going to convince yourself, believe that you're losing everything, that you've lost everything, that you've wasted your time. Right? Sound familiar? I mean, not for you, but movies, books. I mean, read Shakespeare. Okay, that's enough for today. Thank you so much for watching, listening. Don't forget, you can download the audio podcast if you like to just listen to these. That may make it easier for you to partake in the study. My patrons, once again, you're amazing. Thank you all. Namo Myo Renge Kyo. Take care of your health. Be kind to yourself. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now. Okay, here we go. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, 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 Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Renge kyo, namo myoho 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 renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Horenge kyo, namo myoho renge 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 kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Myoho Renge Kyo Namo 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 Myoho Renge Kyo Renge Kyo Namo Myoho 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 Renge Kyo Myoho Renge Kyo Namo 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 Myoho Renge Kyo Kyo Namo Myoho Renge 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 Kyo Myoho Renge Kyo Namo 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 Myoho Renge Kyo Horenge konamo myo 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 horenge ko Namo myoho renge 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 ko Renge ko namo myoho 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 renge ko Myoho renge ko namo 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 myoho renge ko Myoho renge ko namo 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 myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Nam myoho renge kyo, nam myoho renge kyo, nam myoho renge kyo. Oh, I need water. Nam myoho renge kyo, nam myoho renge kyo, nam myoho renge kyo. Myoho renge kyo, hoben pondai ni ni ji se sanju san mayan jo ni ki go shai haji shobu chi e jin jin muryo go chi e man. Yakichi butsu shofu no chi cho ishaga butsu jo shingon yakisan man nakamushu sho butsu dingyo sho butsu muryo doho yumyo jo jimyo shofu man jo ju jin jin mizo uho suigi so setsu ishun nange shari hachi go ju jo butsu irai shuju inen shuju hiyu koen gongyo mushu ho ben indo chujo rori jo jagacho ichaga Haramitsukai igu shakashari hachinyorai chiken kodai jinya muryo muge riki musho isen joge da samai jinyu musai joju isai mizo uho shari hachin Shoho ganji nyunan ekashu shin shari hachishu yo ganchi muryo muhen mizo uho bu shichijoju shi shari hachifuchu bu sechicho ishaga bu shojoju dai chikeu Yui butsuyo butsunai no gujin soho jizo shoi shoho nyose so nyose sho nyose tai nyose riki nyose sa nyose in nyose en nyose hon ma kugyo do shoi shoho nyose so nyose sho nyose tai nyose riki nyose sa nyose in nyose en nyose ka nyose ho nyose hon ma kugyo do shoi shoho nyose so nyose sho Riki nyose sa nyose in nyose nyose ka nyose ho nyose hon ma kukyo to Myoho renge kyo no raju yo handai ju rogani ji butsugo shobo setsugyu isai daishu shozen nanchi Nyorai jo daishi go bugo daishu nyoto to shinge nyorai jo daishi go ubu go sho daishu nyoto to shinge nyorai jo daishi go seji bo setsu daishu Gaisha baka butsu gan se son yui gan che shi ga to to shinju butsu go nyose san baki bu gan yui gan se shi ga to to shinju butsu go ni ji se son Fushi ni go shi ga nyo to tai jo nyo rai hi mitsu jinju shi riki isai se ken tenin gu ashura kai ikon chaka mune butsu shu chaka jigu koga ya jo fu wan za o dojo Samaka sambo dai nen zen nan chi ga jiji do butsu irai muryo muhen yakusenma nokana yuta ko hinyo go yakusenma nokana yuta asogi sanzen dai sensei kai keishi unin machi mijin Na yuta asogi kokunai ge ichijin yose tokyo jinsei mijin chosen nanchi yoi yunga se shosei kai ka tokashi yui kyo kei chi go chufu mi rakabosa toku bakabutsugan se son se shosei kai Yakui shin niki shogyu isai shoman yakichi butsu imuro chi fu no chi yui chi go genshu gato ju yayu yo chi ti oze chi ju yakicho fu da se son yo se sho se kai mu ryo mu hen ni ji butsu go
但气空豆腐有成功有多些修谁看呀个加个米金个夫加个下金你一金一金一口个就不足以来不干我是下个什么那个哪有的阿手一个。下巴世界是破橋嘅一個要求一個什麼那個那有大阿所以各個多的主就造成難期有些主見假設是能到不到無不剛剛女我內涵有些開以後便負別造成難期が生涯物言看過新道召喚類段追求王道超超之絶妙之輔導年期大小約部言感投入內涵無意處處後面説明妙法能量主情法感疑心如来見照主情行王消防特化空中差異性人説が小集計特化の方ら三脈三宝来年が実两个其他你后边口给主就容易不知道三有谁是受生难情由来修文口人开一多大主就我个是可信我个是他信我个是可信我个是他信少々間接開実不合小位者が如来如実知見三界思想無所知脈体脈出脈無在世有滅道者非実非果非如非異三界如是是知如來妙見無者が妙異小主就無主主小主主欲主主有主主惡作分別個欲道超超生が人やか人年非有願知조사不知地密走三派牛谁嘎就不知以来近代古往君妙无流阿所依口就就分别修身难起嘎红有报三十九修就君妙看有密经不败就去能看heจิตเมตุโด你เป็นโชกันโทชูเมตุโด教给主就就一下干呀个不可主哦谁哈个多个新年复苏生干并个给生团这个个呀个女哦个什么给毛主呀个牛来就在乎别处你也现代父老少难走西手苦有西心塞个牛来以后便是这比苦头起手不输谁难卡起鼓手一下个やくせんまのこわくうけんばたわくうけんしゃいしじこがさせがんしょびく如来なんかとげんせごひとしょうなんぞしそしんねえれんぼかつごおぶつべんしゅうせんがんせこ如来水風実まじにがんめつどうせんなんちしょぶつ如来ほかいにょぜいど中上かい実風こひにょろいしえそうだちみょれんほやくせんしちゅうびょうごにんたしょ乃至役主以無自演安市有各個小市おご安他どこ役発問難縁でぬじせじご無限内期継小市安どこ我が市本心我が風刺者海大官議廃棄門心全難能期がとぐちご僕とこ役現健空有教師寿命無限市と苦の尿性栄小教防具個役所年我がよしろ僕にさせがんちだいろやけしきこ耳解説具食料とか僕食上空の無部中言語超地中風刺信者見しろやけしきごぐこよゆよし信者見語部来水や歓迎門神具弱持病年用語やけに不幸僕小位者が道芸人入出版進行おしこしきこやけにいふみししかみにどこ小中新海天道水見楽器愚者空量尿性こやけに不幸僕がコント説方便ろ僕しやか即座税願学根水路知知知世可ろやか根如在信用家中僕もつふささせ教育武士他国検視言語尿部医師 文部拝祖信大右の二差千年薬部祭者自民が党の健空語根者者が音相多国自由心無部自己上永被験内知知薬式公耳即修不可視毒病海遊合部門知失知特裁人弁来期原知見知造船難知大い運が下運にの公務財富放茶生産物言が薬尿税成物以来無料無変約千万なく那由他阿蘇義行為修上行為法弁力言と滅度両方説が公務会社二次生産翌中戦的に設計願知が特部来証拠収無料悪千万上世保教系無修悪修上導入大仏道二来無料行為道中上行法弁限内範上住し説法が上住をし超人道力道天道数層資源に不言主権が滅度航空用車利限界連邦中上基陳牧師知識犬難に信用見物不自弱人名自学主相空出老中戦が自上中上上在し不滅違法弁理公言無滅不滅予告宇宙上苦行信行者が部を非中尿と不満したにが滅度が検証中上滅罪を空海口不意原神両合小結合因合心連邦内出意説法阿蘇義工場再老重戦休養長中上健康人大化症状自我指導安穏天人上10万non臨衝動各中重法長願修上所有楽勝天学天空上差修義学曼荼羅計算没牛大修が浄土不義に修験上人尿税節10万税詳細修上以悪語意念か阿蘇義公不満三本妙超宇宙空中十は七力差総会見外心在心に説法空内見部社員説不難知が知力尿税公上無料準妙無修行空修合所とか尿とうち茶もとち長義と断路用人尿位前方便に事業施行実際にがち無の成功もが薬位生部空職現者一本部天道実在にが滅意条件が5に消去指針悪道修が上司修上行道不行道随有超過道一切修住法埋視さ青年人が両中上特入無常道作上十部心南無妙法蓮華経南無妙法蓮華経南無妙法蓮華経南無妙法蓮華経南無妙法蓮華経南無妙法蓮華経妙法蓮華経 Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Myoho Renge Kyo. Nam 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 Myoho Renge Kyo. Thanks once again for participating. I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care of your health and be kind. Namo Myoho.